British invasion of the 1960s transformed the global music scene, with bands like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones leading the charge.
Windows, and I think of her.
While these giants left a lasting legacy, many talented bands from the era had their moment in the spotlight before fading into obscurity. Their songs and stories still hold a special place in music history, even if their names are not as well remembered. Let's discuss 10 forgotten British invasion bands.
Silence is golden, golden.
The Tremeloes. The Tremeloes began their journey in Dagenham, Essex, in the early 1960s, carving out a place in the lively British rock and roll scene. Their energetic live performances and harmonious sound quickly earned them a reputation as a talented and versatile group. In 1962, they famously auditioned for Decca Records, competing with the Beatles. Decca chose the Tremeloes, believing they had more potential, a decision that remains a historic moment in music. Their breakthrough came in 1967 with Here Comes My Baby, a cheerful and upbeat hit that resonated across charts. Its catchy melody and close harmonies made it a standout track of the era. They followed this success with Silence is Golden, a heartfelt cover of a Four Seasons B-side. The song topped the UK charts and reached number 11 on the Billboard Hot 100, solidifying their place as international stars. As the 1960s progressed, the music world shifted. Psychedelic rock and more experimental styles began dominating, and the Tremeloes' lighter pop sound started to feel out of sync. Despite efforts to adapt, they couldn't match their earlier success. By the 1970s, their popularity had faded, but their contributions to 1960s music remain significant, reminding us of their golden era. From chart-topping pop to haunting harmonies, the next band crafted music that remains timeless. Ready to hear the story behind one of the most enchanting sounds of the 60s? The Zombies. Formed in St. Albans, England, the Zombies stood out in the British invasion with their unique sound. Led by keyboardist Rod Argent and vocalist Colin Blunstone, the band was well known for their intricate arrangements and smooth harmonies. Their debut single, She's Not There, released in 1964, was an instant hit, reaching number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the United States. Its haunting melody and sophisticated composition set the group apart from many of their contemporaries. Following this success, they released Tell Her No, another catchy tune that showcased Colin Blunstone's distinctive emotive voice. These early hits established the Zombies as a band to watch, blending pop sensibilities with jazzy elegance that appealed to a wide audience. In 1968, they created Odyssey and Oracle, an album recorded at Abbey Road Studios. Though initially overlooked, it later gained recognition as one of the greatest albums of its time. The standout track, Time of the Season, became a posthumous hit, climbing to the top of the charts a year after the band disbanded. Despite their early struggles, the Zombies' music endures. Their innovation and artistry left a lasting legacy, influencing countless musicians and earning them a devoted following long after their time in the spotlight. Do you know about a band whose stage performances made them complete icons of their time and many of their era? If not, then stay tuned until the end. The Hollies. Known for their rich harmonies and polished pop sound, the Hollies became one of the most beloved bands of the British invasion. Formed in Manchester in the early 1960s, they drew inspiration from the Everly Brothers' vocal style, with Alan Clark and Graham Nash at the heart of their success. Their ability to craft catchy melodies and heartfelt lyrics set them apart from many of their contemporaries. One of their biggest hits, Bus Stop, released in 1966, resonated with fans for its relatable storytelling and upbeat rhythm, earning them international acclaim. Another unforgettable track, He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother, showcased their emotional depth with a soulful delivery that continues to move listeners. Featuring Elton John on piano, The song reached the top of the charts and became an anthem of compassion and solidarity. Despite chart-topping hits and a string of successful albums, the Hollies didn't achieve the same cultural impact as bands like the Beatles or the Rolling Stones. While others pushed boundaries, they stayed true to their melodic and accessible sound, which became both their strength and limitation. Songs like Carrie Ann and Stop 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 still hold a cherished place in hearts of fans, showcasing their lasting influence on pop music. Now entered a band that launched the careers of rock's most legendary guitarists, but their journey wasn't without turbulence. The Yardbirds. Shaping the careers of some of the greatest guitarists in rock history, the Yardbirds were a force in the 1960s music scene. Starting in London, the band initially made a name for themselves in the blues rock circuit. Their early lineup included Eric Clapton, whose technical skills set a high standard. However, when the band shifted towards a more pop-oriented sound with hits like For Your Love, Clapton left, making way for Jeff Beck. Beck's arrival brought innovation to their music. His use of feedback, distortion, and experimental techniques transformed songs like Shape of Things into groundbreaking tracks that influenced the emerging psychedelic rock genre. Jeff Beck's tenure with the band was marked by creativity, but it wasn't without challenges. Internal tensions and creative differences often surfaced, leading to his eventual departure. After Beck, Jimmy Page joined, initially as a bassist before taking over as a lead guitarist. During this era, the Yardbirds leaned into a heavier, more amplified sound, laying the foundation for what would later become Led Zeppelin. However, by 1968, internal issues and the changing music landscape led to the band's dissolution. What happens when peak creativity meets rhythms? The next band was the British flair of that era.
Beautiful. It's all too beautiful.
The Small Faces. The Small Faces were a British band formed in 1965 in London, known for their soulful vocals and groundbreaking music. Despite their name, their sound was anything but small. Their early hits like What You Gonna Do About It and Sha La 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 Lee made them one of the most popular mod bands of the mid-1960s. Their music combined rock, rhythm, and blues with a unique British flair, capturing the energy of the era. The Small Faces quickly gained recognition for their electrifying live performances and distinct style, becoming an essential part of the mod subculture. In 1966, the band signed with Immediate Records, which gave them more creative freedom. This led to their iconic single, Itchy Poo Park, a psychedelic rock anthem that reached the top 10 in both the UK and the US. The song's innovative use of phrasing effects and Marriott's powerful vocals made it a standout track. Their album, Ogden's Nut Gone Flake, became a commercial and critical success, showcasing their experimental edge with songs like Lazy Sunday and a 6-part fairy tale concept. Despite their success, internal tensions and Steve Marriott's decision to leave the band in 1969 marked the end of their original lineup. Marriott went to form Humble Pie, while the remaining members evolved into the Faces with Rod Stewart and Ronnie Wood. The Small Faces music remains timeless, influencing bands like Oasis and Blur, but they were not the only band who topped the charts. It's time for a band, a global sensation, and one of the most powerful British invasion bands. The Animals. The Animals were one of the most powerful British invasion bands of the 1960s, known for their raw energy and blue sky rock sound. Formed in Newcastle upon Tyne in 1962, their music was deeply rooted in rhythm and blues, which set them apart from other bands of the time. Their breakout hit, The House of the Rising Sun, released in 1964, was a global sensation. The haunting arrangement, combined with Burden's soulful vocals and Price's iconic organ riff, turned this traditional folk tune into a rock classic. It topped the charts in the US, UK, and other countries, cementing their place in music history. The Animals followed this success with hits like Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood, It's My Life, and We Gotta Get Out of This Place. These songs capture the spirit of rebellion and youthful angst, resonating with audiences worldwide. However, internal tensions and management disputes caused the band to split in 1966. Burden continued with a new lineup as Eric Burden and the Animals, experimenting with psychedelic rock. Songs like San Franciscan Nights and Sky Pilot showcased this new direction. Despite their shorter time together, the Animals left an indelible mark on rock and roll. Their influence can be seen in bands like The Doors and Bruce Springsteen's work. The original lineup was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1994. I Rebel, Therefore Exist. Take a self-discovering journey with a band which became a symbol of defiance. The Who. The Who were one of the most electrifying bands of the 1960s, bringing unmatched energy and innovation to the British invasion. Their music combined explosive performances with lyrics that captured the spirit of rebellion and self-discovery. Their early hits, like I Can't Explain and My Generation, defined the mod movement in Britain. The iconic line, Hope I Die Before I Get Old, became a generational anthem. Townshend's aggressive guitar style, Entwistle's groundbreaking bass work, and Moon's chaotic drumming set them apart from their contemporaries. The Who's live shows were legendary. They introduced the concept of destroying instruments on stage, a theatrical move that symbolized their raw power and defiance. Their groundbreaking rock opera, Tommy, 1969, told the story of a deaf, dumb, and blind boy who became a spiritual leader. It was a critical and commercial success, solidifying their reputation as innovators. As the 1960s ended, the Who's sound evolved, leading to masterpieces like Who's Next in the early 70s. Their influence shaped hard rock, punk, and beyond. The Who's unique blend of storytelling and stagecraft continues to inspire musicians today. Playfulness is an important thing to live a happy life, and the upcoming band made sure to provide everybody a reason to be happy and to enjoy their lives.
I'm telling you now, I know.
Freddie and the Dreamers. Freddie and the Dreamers brought a unique blend of humor and charm to the British invasion. Formed in Manchester in 1963, the group was led by Freddie Garrity, whose high-energy stage presence and quirky dance moves made them instantly recognizable. Their music was lighthearted, fun, and catchy, resonating with audiences on both sides of the Atlantic. One of their biggest hits, I'm Telling You Now, reached number 2 on the UK singles chart in 1963, and later topped the US Billboard Hot 100 in 1965. This success helped them secure a spot on popular American TV shows like The Ed Sullivan Show. Freddie's comedic antics on stage and his signature Freddie dance became a cultural phenomenon. Songs like You Were Made for Me showcased the group's ability to deliver cheerful, singable tunes that appealed to younger listeners. However, as music trends shifted in the late 1960s, the band struggled to adapt. The rise of more experimental and introspective music left their style feeling outdated. By the early 1970s, Freddie and the Dreamers faded from mainstream charts, though they continued to perform for nostalgic audiences. Moving towards our second to last entry, a band with a dynamic pop energy.
No way to find what's been going through.
Love Affair. Love Affair was a band that left a big impression during the late 1960s with their dynamic energy and orchestral pop sound. Formed in London in 1966, the group was fronted by Steve Ellis, whose powerful vocals became their signature. Their breakout hit, Everlasting Love, topped the UK charts in 1968, making them the youngest band to achieve a #1 hit at the time. The track's sweeping orchestration, combined with Ellis's soulful delivery, captured listeners' hearts and became one of the defining songs of the decade. It sold over 1 million copies, earning them a gold disc and international recognition. Despite their successes, Love Affair faced criticism when it was revealed that session musicians played on many of their recordings. This revelation hurt their credibility, even though the band performed live with great skill. They followed up with hits like Rainbow Valley and Bring On Back the Good Times. but none could match the monumental success of Everlasting Love. By the early 1970s, internal tensions and changing music trends caused the band to disband. Steve Ellis pursued a solo career, but never achieved the same level of fame. Now the wait is over. Are you ready for the revelation of a pioneering band which also influenced many bands of the early 60s? The Shadows. The Shadows were a pioneering instrument rock group, often seen as one of the most influential bands of the early 1960s. They started as the backing band for Cliff Richard, but their unique sound quickly gained them their own identity. With their signature twangy guitar tones and catchy melodies, they defined an era of British music. The Shadows stood out for their clean-cut image and synchronized stage moves, which added a visual element to their performances. Their innovative approach to guitar tones, including Marvin's use of the Fender Stratocaster, set new standards for rock bands. As the 1960s progressed, changing musical trends made it harder for instrumental acts to maintain chart dominance. While they continued to tour and record, their mainstream popularity waned. Nevertheless, their influence on rock and pop music remained undeniable, with their legacy still celebrated by fans and musicians alike. In the late 1950s and early 60s, an instrumental rock group emerged from the UK, leaving a lasting mark on the music scene. Originally known as the Drifters, they later adopted the name The Shadows. Serving as Cliff Richard's backing band from 1958 to 1968, they also achieved significant success on their own. Their 1960s hit, Apache, topped the UK charts, showcasing their distinctive sound. This track remained on the top 40 for 20 weeks, selling 1 million copies and even surpassing Cliff Richard's Please Don't Tease. Despite their early success, the rise of the vocal-centric bands in the mid-1960s led to a decline in their popularity. They reunited in 1973, releasing albums like Rockin' with Curly Leads and Specs Appeal, which featured vocals for the first time. Their influence on the British music scene remained significant, inspiring countless guitarists and bands that followed. These bands, though now lesser known, shaped the sound of their era and left a lasting mark on music history. Their stories remind us of the fleeting nature of fame and the timeless power of great music. Rediscover their hits, share their legacy, and keep their memories alive. If you enjoyed this look back, please like, share, and subscribe. Let us know in the comments which bands you'd love to see make a comeback.